Please welcome Ariana Case, Program Manager of the USC Annenberg Inclusion Initiative.
So we are here to talk about the battle for inclusion. So from my history classes, I know all battles include some victories. So can everyone tell us a little bit about, championing inclusion at your current companies or in previous roles and how that's looked for you? We'll start here and go all the way down.
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Yvette Urbina. I think you see me up there, but I'm the Vice President of Creative and Production, DEI, at Warner Brothers Discovery. Thanks for having me. Some of our successes. Well, I'll just really quick one. I think that the partnerships that we've been able to form have been really great. I'm really pleased with one in particular that we formed with Black Beauty Roster, which was really a terrific one because I'm looking at my colleagues nodding here, and I think what has happened with that is we were able to form that partnership, which helped people with darker skin tones, textured hair, really helped that across our productions get more education around that. It helped actors, helped really across, and it didn't just help at our company. What we were able to do is turn that into a partnership that our colleagues across the industry were able to take that partnership and work with them as well. And I think, for us being change makers, I hope that we're all change makers, and really we wanted to be industry change makers.
Yeah.
So I see that as a tremendous success and a win.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tiffany Smith-Onawai. I'm the Executive Vice President of Entertainment, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at Paramount, what is now Paramount Global. Now, I will say, the name has changed a few times since I've been there. One of the biggest things that I would say as a success is I think that more than anything, that not only the people on this particular panel, that I know a majority of them, and those that have worked in the business and those that have chose to leave, this work is extremely taxing, but it's also very rewarding as well. The biggest, I would say, success is, number one, I started as a publicist at CBS 23 years ago, and I created the department that I now run. So that is my biggest, I would say, success. That's a personal as well as professional success. And then recently, when I said that the names had changed, it was CBS, and then we were Viacom CBS, and then Paramount Global now. So I think that one's going to stick for a little bit. But I think that more than anything, it is being very proud of the numerous programs and initiatives that we have, but being able that this is the one area that I will say that we are not competitive in. I want those ratings, absolutely, that's where we're competitive, but in this space, we are not competitive, and I couldn't be more proud to be with you all this afternoon to really talk about this particular subject.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jerome Kaur. My pronouns are he, him. I'm the head of U.S. and worldwide DIA content at Amazon MGM Studios, where my team gets a really fun job. We get to ensure that our content is as inclusive as possible and our productions look like the world we live in today. So super exciting work. I would say for us, the biggest win and biggest success is our inclusion policy. And so Amazon published an inclusion policy in 2021 with the help of Annenberg, the inclusionists over there at Annenberg. Yeah. And it was so meaningful for us to have that policy, because when we were talking to folks, we knew that if you spoke to anyone about inclusion, they were game. They were like, yeah, let's do it. But what does success look like? They just really didn't know. That was the moving target. And so we codified what does success look like. And when we say inclusive production, here's our expectations for all of our productions to be inclusive. Since the launch of that, we've more than doubled the number of women writers. We more than doubled the number of women of color producers. We have, in our most recent season, you will see record numbers for women directors at our studio. And so it's just been really, really exciting what happens when you codify success and you put it out there for, as you said, for other studios to look at and say, well, this is what we're doing, and to be collaborative amongst the studio system. And I think that's been just an amazing success that we are so excited about.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for having us all here. I'm Emerlyn Lampetok. I'm Vice President of Creative Talent and Content for Global Talent Development and Inclusion for the Universal Filmed Entertainment Group. I know, long word, but you'll understand why. understand why for a second, because we do cover Universal Pictures, Focus Features, DreamWorks Animation, and Illumination. So successes, I will have to say, our department just was formed about 6 years ago. So we were one of the very first creative DEI departments for film. And back then, we had a writing experience and one directing experience. 6 years later, I'm happy to say that we also expanded to below-the-line initiatives. We have a below-the-line traineeship that has worked on over 20 films across the world, around the world, in places such as Australia and Ireland and the UK. We have a composers initiative, which is the only one of its kind to exist in the studio system. And with that, we've helped to increase the representation of female and diverse composers scoring films. And now we have not just one, but now 3 writing experiences that target live action, animation, and most recently, because we have global in our name, we have a global writers program that we've recently launched in partnership with Working Title. So that's a lot of the things that we are doing, and we couldn't have done that all without the committed support and partnership of Donna Langley, Peter Kramer, and our entire studio team. So, and we've been here and just happy to talk about this. So,
Yeah.
thanks.
Thank you.
What's up, y'all? My name is Dakota Ortiz. I'm the VP of Inclusion Strategy at Endeavor. A couple of the wins on our side that I'm really proud of. We've gotten our data into a really good place, and I know that seems like table stakes at a lot of places, but it's not, and it's difficult. And we're in our maturity curve looking at now like what we're calling advanced metrics, right? So I think everyone's been doing a really good job at recruitment across our industry and across corporate at large. But we have to take a look down and dig deep. And so advancement and retention are where we have a lot of problems. It's a revolving door for women and people of color and folks with disabilities and so on. And so, I think we're looking at setting goals around having parity around those numbers for every group. I think that's really important for us, and we're starting to see improvement there. The rates at which people are being retained in advance are moving up to meet that of white men. And so I think that's really important. The investment our company's made makes me proud. We have 20 people on our team across the Impact, Inclusion, and Advocacy group. A lot of folks are committed. I know my colleagues here are, based on what you've heard. But not every company is invested in what they're doing. And so I think that the size of our team is a good nod to that. And then I think along those same lines about retention and advancement, which we're really concerned about, we've developed a lot of programs that we are piloting and are in a beta right now. We took a deep dive at succession planning. If you whip out your succession plan, which we don't use as often as we need to, it's probably a pretty homogenous group of folks on there. So we're looking at that and making some corrections there. And then we designed a wrap program, so a different kind of wrap. But it's a retention and progression plan. So we feel like it's important that it's not only the responsibility of an employee to know how to advance up within the company and be retained, but we have to create an ecosystem of leaders that's also their responsibility to do that. And so the plan, we sit down with employees, kind of like a traditional state conversation, but we put a roadmap together that the business unit leader sees and signs. Which is now our HRBPs, our inclusion business partners, and our leaders licensed to go do that work and be held accountable. So those are a few of the things that I'm really proud of over the last year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah. Wow. Well, this inclusionist is really inspired hearing all of these great things that have been going on. And as you're, continuing planning, Dakota, I'm so excited to hear that you have, your future planning for how you can keep this going and keep retention and to keep those numbers keep going up. And so, with that planning for the future, I'm sure to kind of balance out your successes, what are sort of the challenges or the headwinds you keep coming up against as you're sort of trying to bring all of this change to fruition?
We don't have enough time for the challenges. Now, we got come on now, right? We'd be here all day for the challenges. I'm being slightly facetious, but one of the things that I would say that as far as challenges, I want for everyone to think back into when was the first time in your respective careers that someone said yes to you, that they believed in you, that they created a path for you, that they made a phone call for you, that they gave you access that they gave you an opportunity that you had the potential for. Not that you had been going for, for years upon years, and then someone finally like, yeah, okay, they've been here about 20 years, so might as well, I might as well let them roll into the room, right? So I think that as far as challenges, we have to really remember what this industry was built upon and what it wasn't, as well as looking forward to, in the sense that we have with agencies and guilds and unions that did not allow people of color, women, et cetera, performers with disabilities to even join these. So let's remember that as a starting point. And so when I said that, let's look and see when someone said yes to you, because we'll hear a lot of times, everyone's talked about programs and initiatives and activations. We have to remember that everyone else that had that yes to them, they were in a program and they didn't even know it. They were in an initiative and they didn't even know it from Jump Street. So I think that let's remember those things. The challenges are a lot of that the business was done one way and successful at a lot of points, and it was done very linear. We are all bringing, I have a different roadmap for you to follow, and we only want to be additive and not taking away. No one is saying you can't have your best friend in the room also, but I want to be another best friend. I want to introduce you to a few more best friends or people that you're more familiar with. So I would say the biggest challenge is really for us to not only advocate for who we believe in, that we know that can do these roles, but also having to continue to beat that drum. But I just want us to really remember, and I ask people that a lot, like, you remember who said yes to you? Why'd they say yes? Why'd they believe in you? We all believe in what we are doing, and I think that is, and I really try to look as a challenge as much more as an opportunity. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing this shit for as long as we've been doing it. I will tell you that right now, right? Very clearly.
Earlier this year in February, we added the A to our name, so we are now the DEIA team, A for accessibility. And we really wanted to make sure that all of our initiatives, all of our policies, everything was including accessibility. And we found a very interesting problem. So we do a self-ID survey on all of our productions to figure out who's on the production and what we need to do to make sure that they have a welcoming environment. It's actually really hard to get someone on a production set to say, I have a disability, because of centuries of being told to hide their disability. Because usually, if I identify I have a disability, that means I'm limiting the work I can do. And so that was a huge headwind for us this year, and we're really working hard to earn trust of the disability community and folks that are on our sets, because we want them to know that when you raise your hand, we are going to give you the productivity tool you need to do your best job ever. And so we're doing that through our partnerships. So we work with Lead on ADA, Deaf Talent Creative Lab, to really show and put our money where our mouth is. You said earlier, investing and really commit in that commitment. And then we're also trying our best to look at, well, what are those lower common denominators that everyone looks for? So for instance, on all of our sets with our call sheets, we have a dark mode on it, just in case. And if you know that you have a disability, you're like, oh, this is fantastic. But a lot of folks don't even know that their migraines are a disability. And if you go in dark mode, you actually will have less migraines. So it actually solves for everybody, because we're solving for one person, if that makes sense. So that's our biggest headwind, and we're just doing everything we can to earn trust and let people know they no longer have to hide their disability. We are here to provide productivity tools for you and ensure that you are doing your best job just like everyone else is.
I love that. Yeah.
I think for us, we're all in this space where having the support and the lean in from our executives and our leaders, that could be like a challenge, but I am so lucky that I work for a company that really is invested in the work that we do. And then I think when it comes to other challenges, I don't know if any of you have either met anybody on our team, but when it comes to challenges, we kind of look at them like scenic detours, in a way that we're challenging ourselves to change the perception on what challenges look like. Because what it does for us is it forces us to be a little bit more innovative than everybody else and a little bit more creative. And when we do that, the things that we work on become a lot more meaningful than when we first actually started on it. So I think that's what we look at when it comes to challenges.
Yeah.
And because of the way that we have been operating that way, we've really gotten the the respect that we have from all of our executives, and they love the tenacity, they love the resilience. It's like you just really can't, we don't like things being thrown at us, like, all these challenges, but I think we always are ready with the best catcher's mitt to do it. So I think with challenges, I think that's how we just look at it.
I'm stealing scenic detour.
I know.
I'm a scenic detour.
I'm creative.
I need to get on the scenic detour.
I've already bought the URL and I've trademarked it.
Yeah.
ScenicDetour.com.
Love it.
So from sort of more of like the less studio side, I think that, I don't know if I would call it an existential issue, but the propensity for risk is going to decrease, I think, a little bit around our work with the Supreme Court action. So I think that there's already been, the attorney generals of 13 states have already sent letters to Fortune 100 companies in those states telling them that diversity, equity, inclusion work is unlawful. So that's yet to be seen. Obviously, we're in a little bit of a bubble here in California. But I do see the propensity for risk and conversations around that happening at our company. And so I worry about that. Words matter. So if you're going to sort of limit our ability to speak about this work very specifically, I worry about that. And then I think the accountability piece, which some of my colleagues have mentioned, is huge, right? I think we're really trying to focus on strategically how do we do things from the top down, middle out, and bottom up. So top down, middle out, bottom up on everything. It can't just be the top down. You have to have that. I think we all know that. But I think that everything has to be middle out and bottom up as well. And I think as we look out at the inclusion work, the system stuff and the systemic stuff and the policy stuff is crucial for laying equitable foundations. And we have to do that. But I think that at large, where we fail, it's a failure in leadership across the company. And that's hard to scale. And so we're trying to figure out how to do that and what are the strategies around that. And so I think that's a big headwind for us.
Dakota brought us down like a little bit, but I'll try to, I mean, headwinds wise, it's not just the Supreme Court and all of it, but I think the last 4 years, I think we know that not just as an industry, but as a world, right? We've faced some like hard times. So from a headwinds perspective, between COVID and all of us being at home and then going back to an office and by the way, I heard all the company names and I thought I had to adapt to a change, but it not nearly as long as any of yours, so easier. I think that we've all had to find like our footing in new kind of spaces while doing this work, and I think that like is a little bit of a headwind. But I mean, look, I feel really fortunate because the one area where we have not faced, where I have so much support is in the DEI space, so I'm really, really fortunate. But I do think the challenge is like, how do we help people navigate during this really tough time, right? Like we're asking them to support new voices, new storytellers, new people on crews when they're trying to get their job done in really challenging circumstances. So I think like during COVID, it was like you can't send somebody up to set, right? You put people through these really terrific programs, but they can't have somebody go shadow on set because the rules just don't allow it. Yeah. And I think that's where we really sort of struggled. And so it wasn't anybody's fault. They just couldn't do it. So you're trying to support a directing program, but it had to be virtual, right? So a lot of us had to put things on hold. We had to sort of figure out like, are we going to still do this year? Mm-hmm. And I think now we're trying to rally back. And you've got a lot of people. We had to reshuffle our entire directing program. And say to really wonderful people, we're really sorry we couldn't have you up to shadow or couldn't have you. And it really is like just trying to figure out like how do we sort of navigate that over the course of 2 years. And I think that it was asking people to be in a holding pattern and asking a lot of executives now all of a sudden who are coming out of, let's be honest, like a lot of change to. We have 50 people that have been waiting for 3 years. Can you get them all up on your productions when they get back up? I think that's going to be a little bit tricky.
Yeah. And I think that the other part that I would add to that, though, every other person that has, and I know exactly what you're saying, but I consistently, they call me the why not woman, both to my face and behind my back. Mostly behind my back, because I'm always like, why not? And I think that the other part of that is every other director and writer was a first time also, right? And you already know
100%,
that,
yes.
but it's one of those that I will push back a little bit on that. Not you,
Yes.
just meaning to other people. And we also, just to really make sure that everyone had to start somewhere at some point. So we know it is one of those that I think that effective communication is always key.
Yes, 100%.
Well, Tiffany, I'd actually like to ask you a little bit about a project that we've worked on together,
Yes.
the Annenberg Inclusion Initiative and Paramount, then Viacom, CBS, through all the iterations.
I'll answer to all of it.
We've been working on a series of studies, and so I wanted you to speak on, what you've been thinking of it and what you've kind of learned through the process and the data.
One of the things that I consistently say is that people need to inspect what they expect. So, and you could do, that's trademark too. So, you can do that one also, right? Like the scenic detour, and then we need to inspect what we expect. And so with you all at the Annenberg, and of course we all love Dr. Stacy Smith, working with you, your team, what we've been able to do is not only with our content for change, but also with our database. We have to know where our numbers are, both in front of and behind the camera, to look forward to see where are the gaps missing, where are we looking for that isn't there. And I think that with working with you all has been exceptional because we've been able to utilize the database, we've been able to look at previous shows, what was missing there, and how we're moving forward with them. So I love that we have this resource in our backyard, and you all know exactly what to do from that end of it with the reports, because we have to be able to talk about it for other people to know what we're actually inspecting. And I think that that's where we've been able to really work with our not only content for change, but also we work with Salesforce, that is a database that will showcase all of our productions from top to bottom on all of the metrics on where this is, again, where are we deficient in those particular areas. So working with you all has been a dream.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so respectable for somebody to be able to want to look internally and be able to make change from where you actually are, rather than, just a point in time. But one of my biggest takeaways from our work with Paramount is that you're really able to see what it looks like when women's stories are being told on screen, and women of color, and how their stories really look. And through that study, I've really been able to see that there can be positive change, which is really exciting. And we've also this past year released a study on the top grossing films of, in the US box office, 100 films ranging from Top Gun to something that just made $5 million. And one place where we have seen some significant positive change is the number of women leading films. So we're seeing more women and girls as protagonists. Last year in 2022, it was 44 films out of those 100. To give a comparison point, in 2007, it was about 20. Women of color led films at an all-time high of just 16, which seems low, but still in 2007 it was one film. So you see where there really has been some growth and change, and I really do think it's because of you all. So is there any thing that you've seen that maybe can speak to why and how this has been changing throughout the industry, and it could be film or television as well? Anyone who wants to.
Hire women. Like, it's very simple. It's very simple. Hire women. No, literally, I think about Amazon Studios, right? Amazon MGM Studios, which is our new name. So it's sort of dropping all of our new names. We're a woman-led company, right? Jen Salke, who is a powerhouse, leads our company. You have our head of film is Courtney Valenti, right? You have our we have Laura Lancaster, head of ongoing series. So we have a lot of women. There's a lot of women in leadership positions at Amazon MGM Studios, and I'm so excited to work with them. And you get to see these really amazing, nuanced portrayals of women, and shows like Dead Ringers, which, if you think about it, if we had nothing but men in a room, there's no way Dead Ringers would ever get get greenlit. I mean, I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a lot of awesome real life scenes of childbirth. And so and we had those discussions of like, should we include them? Are they gratuitous? Are they not? And I remember looking around the room in the conversation, it's like, hi, how many people here have uteruses? I think we should let them lead this conversation and let them have that discussion. And the fact that every person who didn't have a uterus in that room was like, you're right. And we listened to women and we said, hey, what's going on here? Is this something we should do? And Dead Ringers turned out to be one of our most amazing series. And I love thinking about this because we have Totally Killer coming out. Yep. We have Bottoms that just came out on MGM. And so we've just been really exciting to see women's stories like Harlem show up. And again, it's just hire women, support women, give them the productivity tools they need to succeed, take those quote unquote chances on women, and you'll actually see that they'll bring in, the other piece of data I would flag before I move on is, what we've seen is the more women we hire, the more inclusive our sets are. And so, and that's from a top down. So you hire women in leadership positions, in hiring capability positions, they will hire more inclusively, and that doesn't include just women. They will hire non-binary people. They will hire people of color who are men. Like, they will hire more and more than you've ever seen. So just really do that. Hire women.
Yeah. Yep.
I agree.
I would say like that is true. Like I mean, like Pam Abdi is running our film studio with Mike DeLuca, and I would start with Barbie and end with Barbie, but I'm not going to start with Barbie and end with Barbie. I will say that we've had some great movies with women in them this year. Including, first of all, Salma Hayek was the lead in Magic Mike early this year, and then we did have Barbie, which clearly the box office for Barbie speaks to the power of women, both writing, directing, and Rodrigo Prieto was the DP of that movie too, so incredible DP of color. Yep. And then we have The Color Purple coming. So I think and Aquaman, so just in terms of people of color leading films, both in front and behind the camera, I think, speaks to that. And I think that we, not just on the film side, but on the TV side, have, Lauren LaFranc is the showrunner of The Penguin. She's an incredible showrunner. And I think that's, just top to bottom, we have some really incredible people between Mindy Kaling and, Issa Rae that are working at the company that are really phenomenal women that are making incredible television shows as well. And I do think that it speaks to the power of the women that are not only working and run in leadership positions at the company, but they also have incredible male allies as well in leadership positions at the company. And I think that's also really important. I think that if you don't have people that are supporting you all the way through the process, that we are not going to succeed either. So I do think that's really important. That's what I would say.
One of my favorite sort of anecdotes or pieces of data that I've heard is at the UN, when there's at least one woman involved in negotiating a peace treaty, that peace treaty is 35% more likely to last 15 years or more. Oh. And I mean, I grew up raised by a single mom, mostly women in my family, and most of the people that I've worked with have been women. So I'm a product of that. And I think that that's true with what everyone's saying, more inclusive. I think actually also the data suggests that people like to be led by women more. HBR did a study. Women were almost rated across the board as better leaders for everyone in that study. And I think that also what they found is in the last 3 to 4 years as well, that those numbers have increased, which suggests that women are better leaders in times of crisis as well.
Wow. I mean, yeah, and I think that speaks to what everyone's saying, where, it's kind of from the top down. You have to have people in these executive positions or decision-making positions, whatever they are, coming intentionally with the goal to change, right? And
I agree.
Yeah.
I think, and I've been in this business for a while. Yvette and I were assistants together at the same company. And Tiffany was there when I started in this space. So, and I will say through the observation, there's two things I have observed is that one, there have been more departments and groups like ours in this industry across film and television. I mean, television started first, but I've been seeing and hearing more about DEI departments at film studios. Second, I've also noticed more representation in the spaces where decisions are being made. Mm-hmm. And therefore, there's a reason why there's more inclusive content that we're seeing today. And then, you know, for us, we're one of the very first studios that signed on to the 4% challenge to increase female representation behind the camera. Yeah. And if you're looking at, you know, the buzziest films in the past year from our studio, you have Megan, written by Akela Cooper, and you have Cocaine Bear, directed by Elizabeth Banks. Yeah. So we have like this commitment for female representation as well as finding, you know, unique narratives from various diverse lived experiences to help with our content. So
yeah. That's amazing. I mean, I want to end on that positive note. It's so great to see everything that you all have in the works, and I'm excited to see our battle continue for more victories. So thanks, everyone.
Absolutely.